It was one of the worst days of my life. I was setting up 16 units at once, and we went to IKEA with the entire team. We rented a giant U-Haul truck. We checked out with 48 carts. It took 3 hours to check out, and this was pretty early on in my career, and the whole thing between the time that it took to rent the truck and all the my team members' time, and then getting there and unloading it, and then we actually one of my employees got into an accident with the U-Haul, which ended up taking a lot of time with like the insurance later, and then building all the furniture and stuff like that. You learn a lot of this stuff the hard way.
Welcome to Short-Term Rental Solutions, a show for hosts and property managers looking to overcome obstacles, maximize revenue, and optimize their short-term rental business by learning from the innovators who are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Short-Term Rental Solutions Show. Today we get to have a conversation with Jeff Allulian, the CEO of HostGPO, and he is going to educate us on how we can save money and time when furnishing and stocking our properties, which is a huge deal. You would think that once you kind of get your property up and running, you're good to go, but you will find that you're constantly needing to source new things and, always looking for the best prices and whatnot. And so that is really what Jeff's expertise is. And so we're going to have a great conversation today. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So would you just take a minute to introduce yourself to people who may not be familiar with you and HostGPO?
Yeah, of course. My name's Jeff. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO here at HostGPO. But HostGPO is a marketplace for everything from services to furniture to linens, mattresses, amenities, everything you need to kind of stock and set up your vacation rental unit. And my quick background, I'm based out here, mostly in Los Angeles, although I spend a lot of time on the road meeting other hosts and other vacation rental companies. And my background before starting HostGPO was I was actually operating a vacation rental company. So I was big in the lease arbitrage world. I was big in the property management world, and I was operating about 150 homes at a time, and started HostGPO because of the pain point I think a lot of hosts have and a lot of property management companies have these days and have had for a while, of just trying to figure out what the right stuff is to buy and how to get it at not a ridiculous price. So that was kind of the origin story and backstory of HostGPO. I ran my vacation rental company for maybe 8 years, and then pivoted full time to HostGPO pretty recently.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been there, you've been in the thick of it, you really get it. And it honestly doesn't matter whether you're setting up your first property or like you were kind of at scale with 100 plus properties. This is something that everybody faces. And if you're newer in the industry, you may not know about the resources and places that you can go to get some of those wholesale type discounts when setting up your property. And I hear and see conversations happening, whether it's, social media, Facebook groups, people are like, where do you get your towels? What's the best pots and pans set to buy? Everybody's trying to pull together a great property, but it's all about the bottom line, right? At the end of the day, we need our properties to be profitable and not have so much into the setup and the, operating costs that it really eats into our bottom line. So Jeff, why don't you kind of get us a little bit of education and kind of your thoughts based on your experience and your work with HostGPO? What are some really good things that people should take into consideration when they're on that journey of setting up and making these purchases for their properties?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot there. We spend a good amount of time working with all of our members. When you sign up, you can get a member advisory call. You can talk to our team. We're all hosts over here, and everybody has either worked at big vacation rental companies or operates vacation rentals. And the knowledge that we're able to kind of share with people, it can really range from everything from like what kinds of linens to get that make the most sense to where to allocate more or less of your budget when you're furnishing, a home. And so, there's a million topics you can dive into, and it's almost impossible to kind of just start with one. But I will say that we do a lot of work. And just like you said, kind of one of the most common Facebook questions that comes up is about linens and towels and where to get them and kind of what to do. And so Host GPO is a group that has had over 300,000 units sign up to join, which is a really insane critical mass of vacation rental operators. So the collective knowledge of all of these people together, all pointing in the right direction, has really cemented this partnership we have with a brand called Standard Textile. We also partner with a brand called Brooklinen, which is really great, especially if you're doing like a retail type. You want that retail type brand name associated with what you're doing and you're trying to upsell. But the large majority of people end up going with Standard Textile, especially if you're operating, at scale. And like one of the reasons why is because there's a really big difference between hospitality grade linens and your kind of general, you're going into Target and you're buying like the threshold sheets, or you're buying something from Sam's Club, or you're buying something from TJ Maxx, or you're buying something off of Amazon. So there's so many benefits to hospitality grade sheets. And like we can do a very, very deep dive, or we can go like just a little bit in. But I mean, I'm talking everything from like your kind of first layer of knowledge that I didn't have when I was buying linens, of the fact that they're woven in a certain way to withstand hundreds of washes, as opposed before they fray or come apart or lose any of their integrity, right? As opposed to retail sheets, which are meant to be washed whatever, once a week or however often you wash your bed sheets. Now, the second, a little deeper than that, a lot of folks will talk about, well, how do you tell your queens and kings apart? Some people are hand sewing in, corner labels or writing in Sharpie or whatever to try to keep it straight. But, hospitality grade sheets, they actually have, a color coordinated thread that runs along the entire inside. So, your cleaning team or you will know queens are green and kings are red. And so it's a very quick way to match your beds when you're making them together. Or like you'll get to the point where, you start getting into, what about things like you're ordering a whole home. You have a 6-bedroom ski chalet and you're about to set up the whole thing and you need to buy 3 par. So that's like the average kind of hotel standard, 3 sets of each thing. Now, all of a sudden, when you start thinking about the pricing, you start thinking about the fact that you're about to buy probably 48 towels or a box of 72, towels to have some storage, whatever else you're doing. Now, what a lot of people don't think about is that you have to just do the laundry for all of that right away. And that's an insane amount. That's like, could be 30 loads, 40 loads of laundry, which is a lot of time, a lot of money going into the electricity cost. But Standard Textile, these hospitality sheets, a lot of them come pre-laundered with Tide. They partner with Procter and Gamble, and I've actually been to the factory and seen they actually go through this giant pre-laundering process and they're room ready so that you can keep them in storage, and then when it comes time to replace them or put them out or launch your property, when there's all this stuff going on, you have a million boxes everywhere. It's really, really nice to not have to break up boxes of two towels at a time and throw them in the laundry and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the first tranche, and I can get really, really nerdy about sheets. Thread count, like everybody talks about thread count, but like that's like a marketing myth that doesn't really mean much. It doesn't actually affect necessarily the quality of the sheet as much as, for example, type of weave would affect, or type of materials used would affect the feel and touch. That's an interesting one. You can get into like, they have like quick dry towels that are manufactured in a specific way so that they like whisk water away in the dryer faster because of the way the pile is, aggregated in the middle and not on the sides, or stain resistant sheeting and threads that take the synthetic fiber on the inside and then wrap the cotton around that, so you're getting the same 60-40 blend that a lot of people want, but it'll actually release a lot of the stains when it goes to the wash. So look, this is a very deep dive into like what should people know about setting up a vacation rental unit, and the answer is like that's just the surface of linens, but you could do that about every single room, about every single purchase, etc. And what we really try to do is help guide people, not with, hey, here's 500, brands, or here's the whole internet that you can choose from. Here's the curated best of each of the brands, and like why we think certain things make sense.
Yeah, well, that's great because like let's learn from our mistakes, right? So I was the person when I set up my first property that went to IKEA and filled 2 shopping carts full of like towels and washcloths and bath mats because I'd read reviews and heard people on Facebook saying that these one particular IKEA towels were just fantastic for short-term rental properties. So, I mean, I spent a ludicrous amount of money and bought all of these sheets and towels, or excuse me, towels and, washcloths and whatnot. Brought them home, just exactly like what you said, did umpteen loads of laundry. And you know what I found out? I found out that those towels are they take forever to dry and they shed massive amounts of lint. Every time I was like opening the lint catcher after running a load, it was just like a snowball, huge, this huge wad of lint that came off it. And I was instantly kicking myself knowing that it was going to take my cleaners longer to turn over my property because they're waiting forever for these towels these towels to dry. And I was already telling myself, man, in a, kind of backwards kind of way, I can't wait until these towels kick the bucket because I know I am going to make a different choice the next time around.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything you're saying resonates with me. I especially did a lot of IKEA runs at the beginning, and I have a ridiculous story, which I don't know if we'll get into or not, about a 48 shopping cart
I
IKEA
want to
checkout.
hear it. Tell us right now. You can't
Yeah,
tease us with that.
I mean, look, it was one of the worst days of my life. I was setting up 16 units at once, and we went to IKEA with the entire team. We rented a giant U-Haul truck. We checked out with 48 carts. It took 3 hours to check out, and this was pretty early on in my career, and the whole thing between the time that it took to rent the truck and all the my team members' time, and then getting there and unloading it, and then we actually one of my employees got into an accident with the U-Haul, which ended up taking a lot of time with like the insurance later, and then building all the furniture and stuff like that. You learn a lot of this stuff the hard way, and to your point, there is a place like I don't hate on IKEA. I just think it's very limited and like maybe what it could be good for in certain settings. I think a lot of people lean on stuff like IKEA heavily early, which is a mistake. But to your point, there's so much to learn, and then when you get back, you know, you start to realize, okay, you're already waiting for those towels, like you're saying, to like churn out of your unit. But the problem is, if you don't go in right at the beginning, soon you're going to start buying towels. And then, like, for a period of time while you have this crossover and maybe indefinitely, like, you're going to start having mix and match towels in the unit. And then it's like, well, what do you have all these towels for? You have to replace them all anyways. And so it makes a lot of sense to standardize early and make sure that you have processes in place so that you can do this for the long term. And rather than reinvent the wheel like we're each doing, and this is what I love about this industry, and I love about the space, and I love about HostGPO, is that we really get to like work together as a community to like figure out how to do this and how we're going to do it right, and not reinvent the wheel. And to be fair, I know there's a lot of friction sometimes between hotel world and short-term rental world, but like, we're learning a lot from a hotel industry that's been around for a super long time. And Standard Textile is that's a play out of their playbook. That's who Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, Ritz, like everybody buys from Standard Textile. And it's because they make these sheets that are meant to be used in this way. And so, you're talking about reviews and people posting reviews about, hey, which ones are you buying or what do you like? I mean, the reviews that are on Amazon or on whatever, people are talking about the sheets that they like. That doesn't mean it's the best thing for your rental. I mean, I like a lot of things in my house, but I don't think that they make sense for a vacation rental. And so, anyways, it's just I've been through the ringer and the IKEA stuff, and it's really rewarding and fulfilling to be able to share a lot of the stuff that I've learned, and that the Host GPO community's learned with our new members and with each other.
So I totally agree. I'm going to give a little plug for a couple of things from IKEA that I've bought and I
Yeah,
absolutely love. And I can heartily say, buy their can opener.
they
So
have a strong
random,
fan of
but
ours.
every property needs it. Like a can opener and some of those little things that you put in your kitchen drawers. They're dirt cheap at IKEA and
Yeah.
they last forever and they work great. Like I got this crazy OXO can opener thing and it had this atypical mechanism and it seemed super upscale and it was just a pain to use. So if
Yeah.
you're headed to IKEA, fill the kitchen drawers with the finds you get there because they work great. It's a great place to save a few bucks in your budget.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that they have a handful of things. I like a lot of their decor, especially like the kind of newer and random pieces. I also think sometimes they have decent lighting, like their light fixtures and chandeliers can be okay. So, that being said, like I would not buy your pots and pans there. I would not buy, a lot of the furniture that's going to get like I would never buy a coffee table from or like, like that stuff is just going to get destroyed. You really need to be getting you need to be getting contract grade furniture for your heavy use items. Your couch, your pull-out couch, I would never buy a sleeper sofa from IKEA. That's just a miss.
Right.
In
Okay.
my opinion.
So let's kind of, one of the things that we're kind of hearing, the term that's been coined and has gained traction in the media is this whole Airbnb bust thing.
Yeah,
And, as some of the data analytics companies like AirDNA and whatnot are actually looking at the numbers and giving us some concrete data as far as how properties are performing in various markets. I think one of the things that's coming out from the data is that if you have what's truly kind of top of the market properties for your area, you may still be performing just fine. And perhaps this year you actually did better than you did in prior years. My properties are higher end properties, and my 2023 numbers so far, well, they've already outpaced my 2022 numbers. Thankfully, right?
congrats.
I'm grateful for
Yeah,
that. But what the research is showing is that it's kind of this the middle tier, those marginal middles, or I don't know, there's a couple of different terms that people have used. It's harder to differentiate yourself from the increased number of additional listings. I can't remember what it was I was looking at. I want to say it was like a 12% increase in available units, something along those lines that, here in 2023. So if you're kind of just not high end and you don't necessarily want to be catering to the absolute bottom of the barrel, you know, things are changing as far as how you can succeed, and design is really a really big part of separating yourself and perhaps finding some way to stay afloat. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I mean, I have a ton of thoughts there. I think I've looked a lot at this data, and I've also very very much been at a lot of the conferences recently where a lot of this is getting talked about. And I gave an interview with Bloomberg a couple weeks ago about this Airbnb bus topic, and I think that it's complicated. In general, I agree. It's the very, very high end units that have been slightly insulated from whatever oversaturation. I mean, look, and that makes sense. That's kind of going on. At the same time, I think it's the very, very inexpensive units that have also done okay. But like you're saying, the middle market being kind of cannibalized is something that's tracking. Although I will say, for individuals that are out there kind of you know, listening to this, or if they're, frustrated because they're not performing the right way, there are a lot of other factors that are going into this data as well. So for example, that is a general trend, but it is not necessarily as strong as a trend of location, right? Location based, city based data, is going in totally different, can be going in totally different directions. So, there's a slight trend moving back towards urban travel as opposed to, more rural destinations, which really peaked during COVID and had a lot of supply expansion. Whereas, main city markets or, traditional vacation rental markets are starting to trend in the right direction. So, there are a lot of moving parts going in different directions, which I'll say is like a big caveat to this, generalization of go super luxe or go very basic. I think my take is that, and I had this take. I mean, look, I've been in the space for almost over a decade now, and I've seen a lot of the waves that have come and gone, including the COVID wave, which was a really big one. And I think for me, what I've seen, especially in our host GPO membership, I mean, because we're very connected in the space, and we see where a lot of people are expanding and who's doing well. But I think one thing that is more true than this kind of middle market being cannibalized is that the level of operator is really being scrutinized heavily. And so what I mean by that is I think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that the luxury units are being operated at a very high caliber, which means they're responding to guest messages, they're being priced dynamically and aggressively and changed, and not just you don't just have price labs or beyond pricing, but like you're actually going in and tweaking it and seeing what's going on in the market. I mean, look, I also in my own units, I'm having a very good 2023, but I did adjust my pricing, and I had to go in and meet what the market demand was. And so I think that there is a lot of this kind of set it and forget it mentality of, everybody can do this. It's so easy. I'm just going to spend an hour and, I'm also going to keep my day job. And don't get me wrong, like I also had a day job. I was a lawyer when I started vacation rentals, and like I was trying to do both at the same time. But at some point, you really have to step up, your level of operation. And I think that partially it's the price point. You have these kind of entry level units that aren't designed well or that don't have the best furniture, that are being priced too high, and so they can't compete. But those folks are maybe some of the folks who went into this thinking that, well, I'm going to underwrite this property or underwrite this deal because I need to get this amount, and to get this amount I need to kind of do it this way. And so there's less intentionality. I will tell you that the Airbnb bust mentality isn't necessarily as pervasive in the professional operator space as it is in the kind of newcomers into the space. And I'm a very big believer everybody's welcome, and HostGPO is very much a big umbrella for everybody to be under. But I think it's a very complicated issue of who is specifically being affected. I think that it's a very trendy and kind of sexy news headline that like everybody keeps talking about. But a lot of what I keep saying is, the people who are operating really well and strategically, for the most part, and going into the right markets, et cetera, haven't been as affected as some of the other folks. And so, I think it's easy to kind of just generalize and say, the mid-level folks. But if you really start to dig down as to who and what location and what types of operators and what size, companies that are necessarily being affected, you can start to parse that out a little bit more.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And you're right. There's a lot more that goes into it than just like it's a very multifactorial, issue here that we have. So, hey, we promised people, I'm going to pivot a little bit here.
Sure,
we
sure.
we promised people that we were going to help them save time and money on with their properties. And so let's actually go into a little bit more information about
Sure.
Host GPO. How is that? How can you guys help us with that problem? What's the solution that you have?
Yeah. So essentially, the way that Host GPO works, and I think well, we'll do a little screen share at some point whenever you want. But the way that it works is we're a marketplace where you join us, you become a part of our community, and once you log into the marketplace, you can see all the different brands that we partner with. And what's really unique about Host GPO and really easy is that we try to minimize the amount of time that you have to spend kind of shopping around, clicking around. There's something like we have a checklist we give away of everything that you need for your vacation rental home. Like it's like the most comprehensive list of everything you could possibly think of that might go into any room. If you have, fire pits outside, or if you have jacuzzis, what other additional things you need to think about and get. And so, that we just kind of give away. But when you start thinking about selecting, I think it's like 650 or 700 items that could possibly go into a home, right? That's a lot of shopping and a lot of clicking. So what we try to do is, one, we have the best pricing with every single brand that we work with. So there are a lot of folks that are like, well, if I sign up for, if I give a new email address, then I'm going to get that 10% off, or, I have a design account, or I'm a part of this other staging association or another group, right? And they think that they might be getting the best pricing. So HostGPO contractually has the best pricing with each of our brands that we work with, which is great because that means you don't have to worry about, is there a better deal somewhere else? It's always going to be on HostGPO, which is nice. The second thing that we do is we help curate just the brands that we think make the most sense in the space. So again, you don't have to figure out what 900 different brands are. You can just see, hey, these are the ones that are selected that make sense. And it's both high end and also, basic stuff. If you want really, really inexpensive travel size shampoos, or you want toilet paper or paper towels or whatever it is, that stuff can go for everybody. And if you want super luxury furniture or luxury amenities, like that kind of stuff, we also have separate brands for that. So it's different tiers, but kind of a curated group of brands. And then the other way that we help save time is we have a lot of these boxes. Is a great example where, let's say you're setting up a new home and it's got 3 queens, 2 kings, and 4 twins. You can come in and open up a bed box and put in the types of beds that you have. You can choose luxe, mid, or kind of basic, and press go, and it will ask you how many guests and it'll put together a box for you that you can edit in and out, but it's everything of the best sellers in that tier. So it's just like trying to save from all of the clicks to get it to a point where you can edit a shopping cart that has all these items that you want in it already, encasements, pillows, duvet inserts, fitted sheets, flat sheets, and you can edit from there. But again, we're trying to help curate and select these items to kind of bring them through for you. So whether it's the boxes, the curation of brands, knowing that you're getting the best pricing, or we also do have a free interior design program through our partnership with Williams Sonoma. So if people are setting up new homes, we can actually really help you from the beginning, where you don't have to even go through the work of getting a designer, and you can have the whole home and selected and work with a designer to get everything kind of set up for you from that perspective. So we try to really be involved as much as we can to help save people time in setting up and restocking, and whether that's making sure they can get samples sent to them so they can try the sheets out before they end up buying them, or whatever that is. So we really try to get involved in every step of the way to save time and save money. And then all the purchasing on HostGPO, last little point there, is all immediate. So there's no like quoting processes or 2-day delays of going back and forth. Everything, all of our partnerships, you can either shop directly on our site, or you can get a coupon code if it's that type of a partnership, and go to Rugs USA or Helix or CB2 and just drop the coupon code in the shopping cart to make it a really seamless and quick experience.
That's fantastic. So I want to did I hear this right? There is a lot of places that we can go potentially to source things. What I think I heard you say was that you guys have commitments with some of your partners that you can guarantee that you are going to be the lowest price for, that particular item.
We have commitments with all of our partners that HostGPO is always the least expensive option and the best pricing in the industry. So there is no company out there, no vacation rental company or, of any size, or, other purchasing, option or source you can go to where you can get better pricing than HostGPO from the brands we work with.
That is, I mean, as far as time savings, eliminates that step of, okay, this is what the price on HostGPO. Now let me compare that on 2 or 3 other sites to see, if that truly is the best price. Here we have the
Yeah.
CEO telling us, folks, that
Yeah, it's
they know that
generally,
you guys are the best price.
yeah, I mean, look, it's part of the fact that we are, we've been around for 4 years now. We're the biggest group in the space, and we very, very much have worked to, generally speaking, make that a part of every single contract that we do. So, there's no point in wasting time going around or seeing if something is, better here or better there on their site. It's always better than what you're going to get on anywhere else, including on the brand site.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
And then also this, these boxes. So like you were saying, I got to set up some rooms. I don't have to individually select things. It's like kind of a bulk cart that can put it all together, handful of clicks, boom, you've got what you need for your various rooms. You're done. You're on your way. You're just waiting for your stuff to arrive.
Yeah, we have a bunch of them. We have like a kitchen box. We have a basics box, which is all of your amenities and your olive oil and salt and pepper, that kind of stuff, and bed box, bath box, living room box. So we've been working to add more of these. They've been really popular, but they're also just a really good way to not have to guess on what you're getting.
Yeah. And you guys have curated sourced materials that are going to be a really good choice for short-term rental properties. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay. So here's kind of a thing that everyone's going to face sooner or later is something shows up and you're like, you know what? I actually am either not happy with that or it's not a good fit, doesn't fit my decor, and you have to return stuff. So I buy a ton of stuff. How do I go through that return process with you guys?
yeah. So generally speaking, our return policies are, for the very most part, the same as whatever they are on the brands, right? So, for example, if you buy a couch from West Elm, or and you want, or CB2, and you're going to return it, there's 2 really big benefits of HostGPO. One, we can help you do that. So you can come to HostGPO, say, hey, I had this issue. Who can I talk to, etc. Or can you help me do this? And the really nice thing is that because we have these very deep relationships with each of our brands, we actually have teams at each brand that just help host GPO accounts. So it's not like you're going to regular level support or like you're going to business level support. You're going through a host GPO tier of support that is, one, we can help out and do a lot of the work for you if it's, for example, reaching out to multiple vendors or whatever that is. But two, we work directly with our counterparts at each of these companies to make sure that, things that might not be available to the general public or even to kind of business customers are available to us because of the nature of the size of our group and what we're able to do. So you're really getting advanced level support and we can help out. The caveat I will say is there are some brands that we work with. For example, Helix for mattresses. They have a hospitality mattress it's the Helix hospitality mattress. It's probably the best host GPO mattress seller. And it is essentially the same thing as their, regular Helix mattresses, but it's a fraction of the cost. They don't sell it on their general website. They don't sell it to the general public. You can only order it exclusively through HostGPO. And it is one of those things where most people are buying a lot of them, and they're not just buying one. And we know how good they are. And by waiving the return policy on that Helix hospitality mattress, look, if you want to order one, try it out and see if you like it. Like, okay. But, we were able to get an unbelievably aggressive cost on we're talking 70-ish% off on a mattress that's extremely high rated. So
That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah.
So, okay, we've made good on our promise here with the show today. HostGPO really can help us save time by kind of curating brands and bundles to help us quickly pull together a property. You're going to be able to save us money by, creating these relationships and these agreements to give us the lowest price and this hospitality level pricing for these various companies. So what does it actually look like to get started with HostGPO?
Yeah. So you can go to hostgpo.com, or when you sign up, there's a link below, above, somewhere around here. But when you sign up, you will be able to register for 3 months, totally free, no commitment. You don't have to enter in any credit card information. You can get samples, you can place orders, you can try it out. I would say almost everyone who signs up for HostGPO ends up staying on as a member. But what's really nice about that is we want you to be able to actually see what it is and experience it. And while I wish I could come out and say we get 50% off this company and 35% off that company and 80% off this other company, all of our deals are confidential. So you have to sign up, get approved, and once you get approved, you're able to log in and see all of our pricing. And so you can go through that 3-month trial and then make sure that it's a good fit for you. Ask any questions that you have. And then after that, it's a annual membership fee, and I'm happy to talk about what it is, or you can see it on the site. But it's essentially, if you're 1 to 10 units, for example, your membership fee is $120 a year total for, even for 10 units. So.
And you could easily make that cost of membership back on the savings for just the bedding,
Yeah.
or whatever, like
One,
2 mattresses or even 1 potentially, and you're there.
yeah, a fraction of a mattress and you're there. Yeah. It's look, our model is built on passing along the most possible savings we can, and then really more of a kind of like Costco type model where it's, you're paying your dues, and we have a lot of mass, we have tens of thousands of members, like all bunched together, who are all kind of contributing to this greater cause.
Yeah, economy of scale for sure comes into
Absolutely.
play. Yeah. So, okay, you guys had some pretty exciting news recently with some venture capital coming your way.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and what are you planning to do with all those greenbacks?
Yeah, so we ended up raising some outside capital, and there were a couple of reasons why. One, we want to keep growing the group. As the group gets bigger and as more people continue to join, the ability for us to go in and make new partnerships that were really just unavailable previously increases. And so the people who've been with us, the Host GPO members who are listening, who've been with us for, I don't know, 3 years or longer, they've seen over time our deals get better. And they keep getting better because our group gets bigger and we're able to go back and renegotiate and say, well, now we're this size, what else can we get? So as we continue to grow, and a huge part of the reason why we're kind of investing in growth right now is we want to get the group to be bigger so that we can get better discounts and so that we can make new partnerships. So, and we recently announced partnerships with, Instacart Business, which is something that was like totally unavailable to us before, or, Google Nest. or, Staples Advantage, which is great, by the way, for like toilet paper and paper goods and all that stuff through us. And these were companies that were just generally speaking unavailable to us given our size before. The other kind of reason that we raised was our one of our lead investors is they are actually the largest GPO in the US. And we wanted to raise from them because they can help us as a smaller GPO, grow and scale and open some doors to us that, like, again, just given our size, even if we started to grow, like, they can open a lot of doors in the future for us. And they're not really in the short-term rental space, but they understand GPOs. And for those of you that don't know, GPO is group purchasing organization. So it's a type of business, it's a buying group. And these exist in, hospitals and pharmaceuticals and schools and restaurants and, you name it, there are GPOs. We're the first one to do it in the vacation rental space. But anyway, so one of the other reasons why we raised was to have this really, really big GPO kind of help us as we grow and as our group starts to grow.
Yeah, kind of mentor you guys through that. So we are going to wrap up here real quick as far as the podcast portion, but then Jeff is going to give us some kind of bonus video content here where he is going to kind of give us a sneak peek at some of the things behind the scenes in the actual Host GPO platform. You'll have to follow us over to YouTube and this episode recording there on YouTube, but it'll be a great opportunity for you to get to see some more of other brands and actually what it kind of looks like for someone behind the scenes. So before we wrap up the podcast episode, Jeff, I'm curious, as you look at what you've built and what people have access to in Host GPO, what's kind of your favorite thing, or maybe a feature that tends to get overlooked and people don't necessarily know how powerful, how cool it actually is?
Oh, wow. I think for me, one of the favorite things right now at Host GPO and that people overlook is we actually have a services marketplace, which is really cool if you are, for example, new to the space and trying to figure out which, vendors to work with. We've hand selected a couple vendors that we really like for things like, let's say you're thinking about signing up for StayFi. We have a partnership with StayFi where you can actually get the best StayFi pricing when you join StayFi as well. For those who don't know, that's a great way to collect email addresses of your guests so that you can remarket them and target them later. And it's a great company. So we, in addition to the furniture and mattresses and linens and all that kind of stuff, and the features you'd expect, tracking from each of the brands and the ability to reorder and see filter by what property you ship to and all that stuff. I think the thing that people don't know that much about is this services side that we have, which is just a really great way to, even Instacart Business. That's a service. It's not like a thing, but I use Instacart for my vacation rental all the time because I can't tell you how many space heaters, fans, and air mattresses, because there's a hole or something you just sometimes have to send to make a guest happy, or honestly, like cases of water or whatever it is, kind of emergency, buying, especially if you're managing remotely. So anyways, I would say the services side of our business is something a lot of people don't know about or don't utilize as much as they probably could.
Yeah, and I'm going to chime in and kind of jump in behind you here. I was actually in the Host GPO platform recently poking around, and once you do that massive setup and you're buying just oodles and gobs of whatever, everything basically, you may have a point where it's like, you know what? I don't need 17 sheet sets. I need to like 3. And so you guys have the ability to buy in bulk, but also the ability to just pick up, 1 or 2 or, you know, a few things. And that's really helpful once you get rolling and you just need to kind of replenish what you already have. And going back to the point you made earlier, if you kind of committed to a company like Standard Textile, you can be assured that those couple of things that you buy, kind of that model or that style of sheet or whatever, or towel, it's kind of always going to be there.
Sure.
And you can be assured and know that, you can just pick up a couple and still get that hospitality grade at the great price, and just makes it super easy. So, I think that's another great thing about what you guys have as well.
That's yeah, it really is a unique thing to be able to buy hospitality items at a retail amount. Like you can buy them at like 2 towels or, 1 chair and still get great pricing. So I think, I think that's right. And the last little thing I will say is that, the other thing I think a lot of people don't leverage as much as they should is just our team. I mean, we are all Host GPO team members, pretty much, I would say at least, I don't know, half or more, maybe 3/4 of us are actively in the space. And so we have a lot of knowledge here. And a lot of what we do is work with people when they say, hey, what should I get? And they'll chat in, or hey, I have a question about this, or which of these should I like? And we can often send free samples and, walk people through, what we know is working for other folks. So, unique use cases that people have sometimes, like, hey, I have a cabin and I don't have Wi-Fi, but what lock should I use? And it's like, yeah, well, like Igloo, right? Igloo Home is the right lock for that because it's algorithmic. And like, it does dynamic codes that will link to your PMS software, but you don't have to have Wi-Fi. And there's all these little things where we're really experts in that. And I think people could probably leverage that a little bit more. And the folks that do are super happy about it.
Cool. That's great. Jeff, so much fun. I really enjoyed talking with you today, and I enjoyed, your hearing your thoughts on a few things about the industry and buying. And wow, it sounds like we probably need to have another conversation here in the future so that you can maybe go a little deeper on some of the nuances there. I'm sure that you know a bunch of things about, whether it's the textiles or the furnishings or whatnot, or the locks. That was a little gem you just dropped right there at the very end. But, lots of things that probably haven't even crossed people's minds, but are things that are super helpful to know as far as their operations and whatnot. So thank you so much. Hey, I'm just going to also make a little note here. If you are someone who is looking to optimize your short term rental business, looking for the right tools and solutions for your business, if you haven't had a chance to already, be sure to go check out strhub.com. We've got information about HostGPO and many of the other companies in almost every category you could think of, things that you need to set up and operate your short term rental business. And we love sharing that information. It's completely free. Hop in there, look around. It will save you, just like we talked about here, lots of time and effort researching so that you can be educated and make the right decisions for your short-term rental business. So I think Jeff and I are kind of on the same mission here, and that's to help hosts and property managers. And so be sure to check out strhub.com. All right. We'll let you people who have joined us on the podcast go. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to tune in next time. And Jeff and I are going to continue the conversation, and he's going to show us a little bit about HostGPO. All right, Jeff, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and
Sure.
show us a little bit about what it actually looks like and behind the scenes in HostGPO.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you apply and get approved, you'll be able to log in, and this is what our member portal looks like. So you will log in and you will see all the different brands that we partner with, and you can filter them by category, etc. And each time you click on, you can see all the pricing is blurred out right now because it's all confidential. But each time you click on one of the brands, it will open up a page that tells you more about the brand and how it works and how the ordering process works. And like I said, all the ordering processes are immediate. So whether that is you are going and shopping in a store, or whether you are you're requesting a coupon code, or you're even shopping by creating an account, each of these ordering methods is described, and the discounts are described as well. You can also see, we'll highlight things. So like right now we have a really, really great, this is a Host GPO and West Elm collaboration on a core collection of items. So even within all of West Elm, so it's like, it's not just that we get a discount on one or two types of sofas. We get a really great, incredible flat rate discount on everything. But we also have, an insane deal on our core collection of items, which is, a handful of selected goods from West Elm and Host GPO that we think make the most sense for vacation rental units. And so I wanted to show you this page so you can get like a quick glimpse at some of our partners, things like Ace Hardware,
Who
or
hasn't gone to the hardware store like 10,000 times when
for
setting up
sure.
your property? It's constant. And I want to mention one thing real quick. You
Yeah.
talked about a second ago about how you have to kind of sign up and get approved. That's because Host GPO is only for short-term rental owners. Like my sister loves Pottery Barn and West Ham and all these other brands, but she's not a short-term rental professional. She can't sign up and get this account with Host GPO. They have to verify that you guys are actually in the industry, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And so we work with, short-term rental operators, owner operators. We work with property management companies or interior designers that are doing design for short-term rentals. So or honestly, we actually work with a lot of cleaning companies too,
Mm.
because and a lot of them buy the janitorial supplies through Staples, or they buy linens or amenities and soaps and shampoos. I would say things like brands like Diversified Hospitality are super interesting, because if you're buying on, maybe I probably should have mentioned this for the podcast listeners too, but like if you're buying on Amazon and you type in amenities, right, or travel size shampoo, the top like 3 or 4 items that come up, the best sellers on Amazon, are coming from Diversified Hospitality. But because you can buy directly from them through HostGPO, you're getting a lot better pricing than you would even if you were getting stuff on Amazon. The same thing with like a brand like Rugs USA, right? Rugs USA, they're the best seller, top seller on Wayfair, on Amazon, and you're able to buy directly from them at an even better price than you could get at any of those other places. And so that's just kind of like one example of the site. But to your point, 100%, everybody goes to Ace Hardware for something. And this is cool because it's both online, but also in store. So if you walk into an Ace Hardware store and you're a Host GPO member, you can actually get a discount at the register. Or if you have a large team or you're sending a maintenance person, you can actually get that discount at the register too, which is awesome.
That's super great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love that.
So I also wanted to show just a little bit more about like how the process works. So for example, if you were going to request a code, you can click request code. You'll get a coupon code sent to you, which is a super easy way to order. Sometimes you can see things like our partnership with Google Nest on each of the products. It's as easy as creating an account with them, or things like Standard Textile are actually just stores where you can do a bed box, a bath box, or you can actually just click on each of the items and see what the pricing would be and check out essentially on HostGPO site. So regardless of what the partnership is, Instacart, for example, we get, a free Instacart Plus membership and all these other kind of benefits on your first order and cash back and all this stuff, regardless of what the deal is, when you log into the member portal, you can see each of the brands and how to place that order with each of the brands. So
Yeah, that's so
there you
great.
go. The quick walkthrough.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for taking that time. And again, I know I already said it, but thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I really, really appreciated being able to share my story and a little bit more about HostGPO.
Yeah, great. All right, everybody, be sure to tune in next time. We're going to be where we always have conversations with the innovators that are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry to help you optimize your short term rental business.